Hi, welcome. I'm Camille from Chicken Scratch and Sniff, and today we're going to talk about teaching tips for senior primary specifically. So, depending on how your primary is set up, hi Mindy, it'll be 8, 9-year-olds to the 12-year-olds, okay? And so these ideas are just ideas for you to put in your tool belt. You're going to have to base it on the maturity and the personality of your class, but the more tools you have, the better off you are, right? Hi! Welcome. I'm so glad you guys are joining in. So the two huge things that I've noticed when you're teaching kind of more of the older children is, number one, your first job is to get their attention and keep it, right? And number two, you got to get them into the scriptures. Senior primary is an age where they need to be in the scriptures. They need to learn how to use them. They need to know where to find things. They need to know that they're there, okay? And so a lot of these teaching ideas that I'm going to share with you are going to be ways to get their attention and then maintain their attention. And so we'll go through, I have 10 ideas for you today. And if you have questions, you have other ideas, you have other comments, please go ahead and put them in the comments below. And I will read them out loud as you bring them in, okay? So, the other thing is I wanted to mention is that while these are for senior primaries, they also kind of work for like other youth classes. Young women's and men's, they work for those as well. So come and join in for those. Okay, you ready? Number one, and some of these I'm going to show you specific examples that are on the blog too that I told you about that I would be scoping. Okay, so this one is a spinner. And so what you do, I put this one on the Primary 4 Lesson 5. And what you do, it has Nephi's bow, so that's what the lesson is about, how it breaks his bow. What you do is you spin it, and then whoever it lands on, that's how you have to answer the question. So if it lands on Lehi's family, there's a couple different ways where they would answer that question depending on which family member it was, right? If it was Sam or if it was Soraya or something like that. And then if it's Laban and Lemuel, obviously it's going to be a more mumbling, complaining answer. Or maybe you're going to summarize the story as if you were Nephi. Or you're going to summarize the story as if you were Lehi. So you can use this in a kind of a lot of different ways. The point is, it's something for the kids to kind of do and have fun with, but then it gives them a scriptural activity to still do. So they still have to answer a question, but it's just a little bit more fun. Okay, and so you can make all kinds of these spinners. You can use this one for like all the Nephi lessons. It's a lot of fun. All right, number two. Okay, so a lot of the handouts I give you, they're just handouts, right? And so you have to make them into more than a handout. So I'm going to give you a couple of ways that you can transform just a boring handout into something else, okay? So this one is also in the same lesson, Primary 4, Lesson 5. And this is Nephi's bow, and there's a scripture on there. And so what you can do, it's like by itself, I mean, you could color it, but that's, 5 minutes, right? So what you can do is you can give directions. For example, you want Nephi's bow go all the way up here for an example, okay? Maybe you're going to put a sticker on here of an animal and you want them to get to that animal. The only way they can get to that animal is by following your directions. So you can't show them how you're going to do it. You can only use your words. You say, draw 3 inches to the right. Go up until you hit the bottom of a bark tree. Like you can just give kind of directions, and you can make them bizarre. You can make them really easy. It's up to you. And then the point is that they'll get up here. If they don't get there, ask why. Ask them why it was hard. Ask them what they could do to clarify the directions, and then tie that into their lives and how to apply it to their lives. So that's one way. You can also do that like up on a board. Give somebody directions and they have to draw it based on your directions, right? Or you can blindfold people and they can try to do it. Or you can put it on top of their heads and they try to draw, without looking. So there's all kinds of those kind of things that you can do to handouts that make them just a little bit more fun and keep your kids' attention a little bit longer. Because, their mission is to get you off topic. That's their whole goal. And so things that you can do to keep them on topic are great. All right? Let's see. Oh, here's another idea for a handout. So, lesson 4 this week is about Lehi's dream. So you can I give this picture to you up to print out for free. But what you can do is you can cut it up, or you can use the matching things that I gave you, and you can give everybody some of these parts of the tree of life. And then as you read that scripture, have them glue it onto their paper where they think it belongs, or have them put it up on the board where they think it belongs, and kind of talk about things that way, and then glue the meaning afterwards, okay? So it kind of just is a little bit more interactive, goes beyond just a normal thing, okay? All right, number 3, and this is a popular one with a lot of these older ages, is games and puzzles, okay? So I'm going to give you a few ideas of games and a few ideas of what to do with puzzles and how to make it work for you and how it actually leads into the scriptures as well, okay? So let's see, where's my puzzle? Hold on. Here's something that we did this last week, is I had 2 envelopes, and inside was a puzzle. And I divided the class into 2 teams. There's only 5 kids. I don't have a ton, so that's as many teams as I can do. And they raced to see who can put the puzzle together first, and then they had to read it. It had a scripture on it, and so then they had to read the scripture out loud and then apply it. And so what you could do is, since it's a race, you can then award prizes. And so these don't have to be like food prizes. They don't have to be toy prizes. They could be things like, okay, you got to go first, so that means you get to ask them the question and they have to answer. Or you won, so you get to draw on the board for this next activity. Or, you know, just things like that. Or you get to say the prayer. Or you get to decide how we put the chairs out for this next part. Okay, so you can do kind of class privileges as prizes, which is a lot more fun too. Okay. Okay, so you can race to do that. Or with this puzzle, on one side was a picture, and then on the other side is a question. And so they can take the okay, so you can do this 2 ways. You can either hide these pieces around the classroom, and I know it's a little classroom and there's not a lot of places to hide, but you'll be kind of surprised. There's all those chairs to put them under. I even put one like behind their chair, and that was the hardest one to find because they're not used to looking behind the chair. They're only used to looking under the chair. And then you can put them under the chalkboard. You can put them over by the window. So just be creative. You can make some of them obvious. So they have to find the piece, and then they have to answer the question, and then they can put it up on the board. Or you can take it apart. You have to answer the question. Okay? So just a couple of ways to do with puzzles. There's lots and lots of ways, but those are a few. And then with games, let's see. You just need game markers, right? Now you can do games giant, like on your whiteboard or your chalkboard at church, and then you can put these up there, and you can do it by team, so the green rocket or the blue rocket team, and you can kind of move ahead, and as you ask the questions, they get a point, so they get to move ahead that many spaces, right? And that's just an easy way to ask the questions and keep their attention while doing it, because they want to win, and maybe they win by they get to be the first to leave and get a drink at the drinking fountain, you know, just simple things like that. But kids love it. Like any kind of privilege, they're going to love. Okay, so that's just one simple way. I've done it where you've done like a giant board game on the floor. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It works sometimes because that's exactly what your class needs, right? So you got to know your class needs. But sometimes it doesn't. So because if 2 people are on the same square at the same time, it can cause problems. So you need to create a rule for that. And it can also not work because if the papers move around too much, it causes more of a problem. So you're going to have to know your class, okay? But it's fun to roll a giant dice, and that's fun. All right, so games and puzzles. Do you have any questions about any of those? You can just ask me anytime and I'll let you know, okay? Let me make sure I didn't forget one. Okay. Oh, and then there's always Jeopardy. Jeopardy is a really easy one where you put the answer, or you put the question on the back and they're supposed to give the answer, but usually we do it the other way just so it's easier. You put the answer on the back, or you put the scripture reference, and then they have to look up the answers and give that one away. And then again, you can do the point system, and you can divide into teams, you can do individual, just anything that's friendly, healthy competition is great. All right. Now, here's another one. And again, it depends on the maturity and the personality of your class, whether or not these things will work, okay? So, a lot of senior primary kids have journals. I think they're wonderful, depending on the personalities, okay? You can easily color, you can glue in stickers, you can put in the handouts. there's all kinds of things that you can do with them. And I like them because if they get in the habit of bringing them every week, they have something to write in, and when they write something down, they remember it more, right? I bring in a marker, but my rule towards the end was you can only have one color because it causes too much of a distraction. So you can do it that way too. Or you can say, now you can have a marker to write this part. So if they're switching markers all the time, it's really distracting. But these journals are actually great. And like Rachel's book nook always has cute handouts that you can print out. I always have posters that you can print out and glue into these, and it makes it really easy. The downside is if they don't bring their journal, then you have to have other paper for them to use, and then hopefully they'll put them in their journal. But you could also keep them every week if you're worried about that. All right. The other thing is you can do journals like this one for lesson 4 is really good. And you can do this as a class where you go through each of the questions and you answer them all together and you write them down all together. Or you can take a page and you can divide people up into groups. They have to answer that question as a group, that whole page, and then they present the material to the class. Okay, so that's one way. Or every week, I have one journal page up on the blog, and I've started to link up to Latter-day Chatter as well, and she has journal pages usually every week as well. And so you can print those out. Those are both free, and you can use them. What I do in my class is I just save 5 minutes in my class. It's usually either in the middle of my class or at the end of my class. And it just makes them write down some of their testimony or write down something that they've learned so it sticks in their mind that much more. And what I'm doing is I'm collecting these at the end, and I have them write their name up at the top. And I'm putting them in their own folders as they go along, so then at the end of the year I can give them back to them, and they have a little scripture journal that they can keep, and they can keep doing if they choose to. Okay? Now, the first time I did these journals with my class this year, it was hard for them. They were not used to writing things down, which is why I think it's important to do. The more they can write it down, their testimony is going to grow and their knowledge is going to grow. That's why I think journals are excellent things to do. Our children need to have such a strong testimony today so that they can stand up for what they believe in and they can know it and have that guidance that they need. All right. Now, if your class, two things. Your class is either super quiet or your class is very talkative and either gives the same answers over and over again, okay? So that's when you want to use CPR. This is my husband's thing, okay? It says church, pray, read the scriptures. Those are really like the primary answers, right? And now that they're in senior primary, you want to get them to go beyond just the typical answers and to explain it. So these are some, depending on your class, this is what you can do. If you have a super quiet class and they're not answering and you know that these are the answers that they need to do, you can put this poster up on the board and remind them, hey, spiritual CPR. And these are why they're their answers. So explain it a little bit. Or instead of putting the poster up with all the answers, you can say, what's spiritual CPR? And at least they're going to get those 3 answers going, right? Now, the other thing that you can do is if they could repeatedly say these answers, is that after they've said them, you put this up and say, you can't see these answers anymore unless you have like a scripture to back it up and tell me why. Okay? So those are things that you could do. I found that I had to say that a lot towards the end of the year with some of the classes because they get used to it a lot and they just want to say those kind of answers because they're getting lazy. So it pushes them to just give a little bit more answer and put a little more thought into the questions that I'm asking them. Okay? All right, number 6 is charts, okay? I think charts are awesome for teaching. So here's one that I did. It's not a complete chart, but it'll give you the idea. So it's Lehi's dream. So this would be like, you would put the tree of life here. The symbolism, so what it stands for, the application to your current life, and then the verses. So I set this one up so that they have to read the verses first, and then we can fill in the rest of it. So what you can do is you can either like have somebody read it and then write their answers, or you can have strips of paper where it says what the answers are, and you can be like, okay, I want you two to work on this verse, you two to do this verse, and you two to do this one. And then have all the strips of paper out and have them kind of figure out where they go. And then after the board's filled up, you can talk about it in more depth. So this one would be Tree of Life. Okay? And so if you have journals, these are really great because then they can copy it into their journal and write their chart as well. And it keeps them on task. Sometimes bringing a table into your classroom for them to write on those journals makes such a big difference. They're just more focused and they're more reverent. All right, so use charts to your advantage when you can. Okay, before I get to this one, here's a fun way to also encourage comments in your class, is stickers. Okay, I know that stickers seem like a 3 or 4-year-old type of thing, but they work wonders in senior primary as well, even in older young women and young men, okay? What I do is, if they answer a question and it's correct, I give them a sticker. And I give out a ton of stickers, and I ask a lot of questions. Simple questions, hard questions, in-between questions. And they then want more stickers. And so it really sparks up the conversation a lot. One of the things, though, that you'll notice is because they want to talk more and they want to collect more stickers, is not only do you need to make sure you're doing it fairly, but you also have to make sure that they're giving the correct answer. And so one of the things that you don't want to do is embarrass them, right? If they're giving the wrong answer, you don't want to embarrass them about it. You want to kind of help them get to that correct answer. So maybe you can say, not quite what I'm looking for, but you're on the right track. You can kind of lead them along to get that right answer. Or you can say, maybe you can phone a friend if you need to find an answer. Because sometimes, like you've already gone over the story, so they should know the answers already. And then these just kind of help them get there, and just make sure that you're giving everybody a fair chance. And if one person is really not answering the questions like at all and they don't have stickers, then have them phone a friend and let them still earn that sticker, so at least they're getting something. Okay, phone a friend is a really fun way to let other people not be as embarrassed and still get things that they need. Okay, and of course the phone rings. All right, another one is videos. Senior primary loves videos, right? And they're going to ask you to do videos all the time. And so use that to your advantage. Absolutely show videos when they're appropriate. But don't let them just watch the videos. You got to challenge them a little bit. It's senior primary. Make them stretch, okay? So give them a journal page and have them fill it out as they watch the video. Or give them specific questions. Write them up on the board. Say, I want you to be able to answer these questions by the end of the video. Make them think a little bit. Don't just give them a free day of videos unless it's a reward, okay? And then number 9 is posters, okay? So here's one that we did this last week. This was one of those handouts I gave to you, and then instead of writing an answer, they drew their answer, okay? The thing that I've noticed is that kids maybe don't necessarily want to do the coloring pages all the time, but they do want to draw, and they do want to use markers, and they do want to use crayons and have some kind of fun. And they'll embrace it if you give them the opportunity. So simple rules are, you get 5 minutes to draw. You can draw stick figures. You can only have this many crayons. That way you just eliminate some of the distractions for them. But you have them draw a poster, and then you have them come to the front of the room if you feel it's appropriate, and have them explain their picture and why that answer is correct, okay? So having them put things into words, into application, and using those brain to hand kind of things really help out with senior primary. All right, last one that I really wanted to talk about is homework. I know that some people like homework and I know some people don't. I think it's awesome. It's really important. It gives your kids another thing to do that week. It helps cement the connections that you're trying to get them to make, and it helps them think and be prepared for the next week's lesson. Church is so important, and the things that you're teaching them are so important that they should absolutely be thinking about it beyond the classroom. So one of the things that I do this year to encourage my kids to do homework, because they've never done it before, is we're doing Book of Mormon bingo. So these are on in the market and the blog. Every time that they do their homework, one person does the homework, I draw a card, and if it's on here, we cross it out. And then once we get the board filled up, or if we get a bingo, depending on how long it's taking them, we'll do a reward. So like the next class, we will watch videos, scripture videos, all during the thing, and we'll bring popcorn. whatever we decide the reward to be is what we can do. And so this has been really exciting for them. They like the fact that they are playing a game, but they're getting rewarded for their homework. I like that I don't have to give them a treat every single week. I don't think they need to get a treat every single week because the homework is the reward, right? But it also gives them a little bit of encouragement. So that's something that you can do. And you can do this as a class, or you can do it per individual depending on where you need to encourage. The thing that I like about doing this as a class is there's always one person that never does their homework, right? But this still allows the class to be rewarded, and they can work together and encourage each other. And I'm okay if they take the 5 minutes it takes me to set up during class to get their homework finished. That's fine with me as long as they're doing it. So give them some kind of homework. One of the things I love about all the LDS helps on the blog is that I can just print out like a crossword puzzle and give that for them to do as homework that week. And so it's not super hard, but it's a little bit of fun, and then they can just bring it back and do it. And I always tell them where they can find it if they lose it. And I tell their parents as well so they can do it. Okay? So those are and some other rewards ideas if you don't want to do like a class video lesson the next time is you can go to the dollar store and pick things and put it in a treasure chest. You can do the food, but then there's other passes that you can do, like a drink pass. I normally don't let my class go get a drink during class. It's before or after, and I stress it and remind them a lot. But maybe you give them a drink pass and they can go and do that. You can do a no homework pass, so they still get to draw something from the bingo card, but they didn't actually do their homework. You can give them, you get to draw on the board, you get to pick who says the prayer, you can do a free phone a friend coupon, things like that, more class privileges. Okay? I'm just going to review them real fast, and then I'm going to tell you a couple more tips, okay? So number 1 was using the spinner and making them answer the question accordingly to the person, okay? Number 2 was make your handouts more than handouts. Make them interactive, be creative with them, get their attention and keep their attention, and get them to the scriptures with them. Number 3 is games and puzzles. Use them well, and get them into the scriptures as a result of those, okay? Number 4 is using journals. I gave you lots of different ways to use journals and different types of journals. Number 5 is CPR. Make sure they know what spiritual CPR is and make sure they're not using it all the time. Number 6 is charts. Number 7 is use stickers to encourage more discussion and answers from people. Number 8 is using videos. Number 9 is drawing posters. And number 10 was talking about homework in ways that you can encourage that follow through. Okay? Now, these are just some tools that you can put in your toolbox. There's lots more. If you go to Chicken Scratch and Sniff, up on the blog, there's teaching tips. Click on that and it has a whole bunch more ideas. For example, 9 ways to set up your classroom to really encourage learning. There's ways that you can use coloring pages. There's more ideas for you. There's 3 other teaching tools that you want to use. So go and look at that and figure out what's right for your class. That's your job and your calling, right? Now, one last thing. This is brand new. You're the first to hear about it. But now, starting on Instagram, it's the same name here as it is over there, CMLJLL, is we're going to do a contest. So tell me how you teach like a chicken, okay? Use this hashtag. So you can take a picture of the handouts that you're going to use that week. You can tell me what you're going to do different, like a game that you're going to play that week. You can tell me how your class went after you taught it. But use this hashtag on Instagram, teach like a chicken. I'll repost some of you, but then once a month, I'll give away anything that the person wants in the market for free. So just one item in the market for free every month for anybody who posts teach like a chicken, okay? So share your ideas and let me know what you do. And if you have questions, put them in there too, because I'll read them all, okay? You guys, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. Remember the hashtag and then have a great week teaching.